What's new, pussycat? Whoa, whoa, whoa. What's new, pussycat? Whoa, 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 whoa. Pussycat, pussycat, I love you. Yes, I do. You and your pussycat knows.
Hey everyone, Katt here. It's 1:18 Arizona time. Finally on the road. I had a blowout and got stopped there in Marana, Arizona. Took about an hour for the service to come. The gentleman was nice enough, hard to understand. I don't think English was his first language. I'm not saying that in any derogatory way whatsoever, but it was very hard to understand him, and top of my hearing, and then of course the loud traffic on zipping by on the highway. He showed up in a small minivan. I was expecting a tow truck with the hazard lights, you know, so I'd feel safe for him to even be working on the truck or the trailer. No, he showed up in a little minivan and put on his hazards. He told me he got to looking at it and he's like, oh, well, they just told me to go change a tire. He said it's been slow, so he didn't have his, he said, I normally have my tow truck. So he wasn't 100%, sorry, I'm a chapaholic, 100% prepared. Like I said, he was nice, you know, polite. I don't know the whole process. I mean, I've watched enough tires be changed, especially semi-trailers. My ex-husband used to work on semi-trailer tires and whatnot. Not that these are semi-tires, but alongside the highway and how things are done and this and that, and watching Chunky change tires as well. But I don't know, he just, like I said, I'm not mentioning the company or anything because I just don't want to do that. But everything that he did, he had to keep going back and forth to the van, didn't even get out with any tools. He said, you got a tire? I said, yeah. I couldn't lift it out. Where the trailer is attached to the truck, I couldn't open the tailgate to get the tire down myself, and I would have had a heck of a time in hefting it over the side of the truck, even with my step ladder. So I just left it, you know, and I'll show a picture of that. But, so he helped me get the tire out. He even had to use the step ladder. At first he's like, well, why can't you open the tailgate? And all I did was kind of look, and he kind of figured it out. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Because I couldn't put the tailgate down because the jack was in the way. So we get the tire out, and he goes back, and he's immediately is hunting up sockets. He said, he kept trying socket after socket after socket. I'm still gripping, white knuckling the steering wheel. Like I said, it didn't blow me all over the place. I didn't even feel it until some fella pulled up on me on my passenger side and was waving out his window and pointing back. So then that's when I flipped my blinker on and started to pull over. And the only time I actually felt it was when I was hitting those little, I call them bumble strips, rumble strip, or whatever that one is. That one continuous strip that if you hit it, it's supposed to wake you up or something. I don't know. But, lost my train of thought. He's going back and forth for tools, and then he comes up and he's trying to find a socket to go over the bolts. Yeah, that makes sense, right? And he says, what, are these plastic? And I said, yes, they're just covers. And I tried to get it off with my bare hand and I couldn't. Well, he finds a socket that fits the plastic cover. So of course he gets it on there and he zips it, and all he gets off is the cover. I'm like, they're just the decorative covers. So now he's running back and forth 10 times trying to find a socket that fits the actual nut, bolt, nut, whatever. Like nut. And he's going back and forth, and finally he's loosening some of them while it's still laying on the ground. but I want to loosen some of these. Okay, like I said, it's your job. You do this all day long. And he loosened some up. He says, I gotta loosen some of these. Okay. Then he finally goes and gets the jack. And he has to go back to get the arm of the jack, you know, the pumper arm, lever arm, whatever. And he starts raising it up. And he's, what's that black thing? I was like, it's the cover. Well, he finally gets the tire off. And I ended up having to help him. Thankfully, I had leather gloves. But I had to help him because the main strip, Chunky's like, oh, I must have whipped that at somebody. No, it ended up wrapping up. And I've had a couple people say, pull, you know, drive off the highway. No, it would, if I had gone any further than I'd have gone, I'd have really had it wrapped up in there. The guy looked and just with, you know, he kind of looked and, you know, said it was just jammed. It wasn't tied up in anything. He said if I had continued to drive, yes, I'd have done some damage. I'll insert a picture. The only damage that I could see was a little part of the fender flare or whatever is broke, but it didn't look like anything underneath was. Like I said, it wasn't one of those tires that exploded underneath and flapped around and caused damage, but it just wrapped up in there, and I immediately pulled over. That guy that stopped me must have been able to see that it was either smoking or going flat or something, but I have dual axle, thankfully, so it held up till I got pulled over. I also, to my understanding, got lucky that it was the rear tire of the two, because if it was the front tire, and especially if it had come apart and flapped around, it likely would have damaged the back tire, and I'd have had a hell of a lot more damage. I'll insert pictures and stuff when I do this video. But so he tugged at that, and you know, instead of watching him suffer by himself, he's laying on the ground. You know, he's got the plumber's crack going. You know, trying to make a point to make it obvious that I'm not looking at his ass. Was not interested. But like I said, very sweet, very polite, and to be called senorita is kind of cool. But he was having trouble, and I went ahead and got gloves and, you know, proved that I'm not just one of those vain little ladies that stand on the side of the road, oh, help me. So I put my gloves on and I played tug of war with it, and we managed to get it out of there. And
take the next left onto South Sunshine Boulevard. There's a speed trap ahead.
Oh, don't worry about that, buddy. I'm not going any faster than I have to. But, yep, it was a truck. So he got it off. I got to looking at the rim. And on the inside of the rim, there is a bend, or, you know, whatever. I'm like, oh, shoot, that means I'm going to have to get a rim. Because I asked him, I said, do you need to keep this? Because the tire service, I didn't know if they had to keep it or, you know, whatever. He said, no, you can. I said, well, it looks like I'm going to have to get a new rim. Look at the bend. He said, no, just take it to a tire shop. They'll bend it back. Chunky about cringed over the phone. I could hear him cringe. He said, no, we'll just get you a new rim. But he had the service tech there had to take a picture of the tire, and then of course the strip that come off when, you know, it's still intact. It was still, you know, intact round wise. But they were 10-ply tires too. They weren't cheap. But I got that January of 2020, January or the beginning of February. So they're over 2 years old, and of course, at least Ohio, Arizona, that and back. Yeah, so at least 2 round trips, and then all the little driving I've done in the in-between. But so he's finishing up. He didn't want to put the cone back on that goes over where the hub is. He's like, no, you don't need that. That's just decorative. Okay. He says, because I can't get my socket thingy in there. Chunky got his socket in there. So my cone that goes over it, that goes behind the tire, because you put that cone thing on first and then the tire. So it's without a cone. I'm like, okay, because all it is, honestly, that's all it is decorative. But okay, he didn't want to put it on. He gets it all back on there, and he says, do you have a, I'm assuming he was wanting the tire iron or whatever, because he was, I don't want to let go of the wheel, but he was physically, you know, acting it out what he wanted so that he could hand crank, you know, give, when you tighten it on, my mind is so all over the place, but you get it. He used an impact wrench, but he wanted to manhandle it one time all the way around. And I'm like, you don't have one? No, I don't have my normal truck. So he says, do you have one? I'm like, well, and he followed me back, which I'll have to rethink this, but I'll have to move the kennel to get it. My back seat, the jack, and the tire jack, and of course all the pieces that go with it are behind that seat. The bottle jack that we have for the trailer that Chunky used to raise the trailer, I can get it from under the seat. So I'm gonna have to rethink that, because if I have a flat on the truck, knock on wood, this was a dangerous situation, and you know, I would have had a heck of a time not getting hit trying to get the cats out, because the cats are on my driver's side. But I would have had to have taken them out to manhandle the kennel to get behind there. And he's like, oh, well, you don't, where you take it to get it repaired? Well, I thought that was the whole point of putting a tire on it that I had. So he goes back and gives it a couple more with the impact wrench, and he's done, and he's picking up. I go to hand him the plastic lug nut covers. No, don't. You really want to bother with them? I'm like, well, they are decorative. Yeah. See, no, don't mess with them. So my lug nut covers, they're just little plastic black things.
There's a speed trap ahead.
He cracked one of them by putting the impact wrench on it, but they just slide on there. But we couldn't get him off. He ended up getting one of those vice grip pliers and pulling them off, which they come off easy that way. But and then to top it off, he goes, you're going to need air in the tire. It looks like you probably should put some air in the other one too. Okay. Well, I checked. Long story short there, he didn't even have a way to air up the tire for me. Yeah, I had a tire and it had air in it, but he flat out said, yeah, you need air. And he's like, go 4 miles up the road, there's a gas station. I said, are you sure I'm going to be able to get in with this big trailer? Yeah, sure. 4 miles. There was no gas station 4 miles up the road. The next pilot, the next gas station was even further, but I had already put pilot, I needed gas anyways, already put pilot into my GPS, and I knew I'd have room to pull over somewhere, and I got that Ryobi compressor in the back. So there I am, and I get my gas, and then I pull around to the back of the Eloy. I went from Marana, where I was on the highway, to Eloy, E-L-O-Y, Arizona, to the pilot there. Got my gas, which I think it said it was $3.89, and I had 10 cents off. Yeah, if you've got a pilot driver's card or whatever it is, you get 10 cents off gas again, 10 cents off a gallon until like December 31st or something like that. By the time you see this, it'll probably be too late. But anyways, so I got my gas, and then I pulled over, and there I am in the middle of the pilot parking lot, airing up my own tires. But that was the whole point of getting the compressor, so that I'd have it. Because I ended up having to purchase, because just another FYI, I've got the little tire gauges. I've got the electronic here on the truck, so as a matter of fact, I'll look at it. 42 for the front and 45 and 46 in the back, just the way it is right now. So I'm able to check the pressure that way, but I do have one of the little air tire gauges for the truck. Well, it only goes out so far, so many pounds PSI, but it's not good enough for the trailer tires. It's a whole different, so I had to buy one of the big trucker ones, and so thankfully I had that, and I sat and, the only tire I had to fill up was the one that he put on. I had to add, I think it was at 30, and I brought it up another 15, maybe 20, almost 60, I think. But all the tires now are the same. but yeah, it needed air. But for a service, as I said, I'm not going to mention the service, and it's platinum service. You call them, and you know, I don't expect someone to show up instantly. I knew that anyways, because even if it was for the truck, no one's going to show up real quick. But like I said, I totally expected a road service truck, lights are flashing, you know, because I was so worried. They were flying by, and the trailer's doing this, and but he was in a little tiny minivan, family minivan, tiny. I mean, it had the business logo on it.
There's a speed trap ahead.
Business logo on it, but because his business has been slow, he didn't take the tow truck today. So Chunky's calling me, so I will talk to you guys later. Bye for now. Say bye to everybody. Say bye.